Imagine your neighbor just outside right here telling us on how to run our house.
And if democracy is the only way to develop, how do you explain China's coming up? How do you explain Russia's dominance?
Yeah. Africa, please wake up, man. Let's protect this man with every power that we have, because I think that's the only way out from this Western influence.
And you know the worst part? This general is black.
Tell this general to shut the f up, because he's not doing his job clearly.
What has been keeping you interested lately? Is it the politics and power struggles of Africa? Is it the online social media debates on the fate of Africa? Or is it the scramble for Africa because of its minerals? Today, we get you all those three perspectives. As Nate always puts it, buckle up, let's dive into this. My name is Pius.
My name is Nate.
Welcome
to the Timeless Talks, guys.
Yep. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good.
A lot of content to cover today, so I guess we just dive in.
Dive in.
What do we have?
Traoré.
Ibrahim Traoré.
Ibrahim Traoré.
Sounds like an interesting one.
Yeah, Burkina Faso, man.
How about him?
I see Traoré, he's not just a president. I see him as a movement. I'm so proud of him just for being African and to have this much balls to actually step up for this imperialistic folks.
All right, cool. So for anyone who is out there who's been absent and just has no clue of who he is, maybe this is just a brief background of who he is, right?
Give them.
So Ibrahim Traoré is the current leader of Burkina Faso. He's a 37-year-old. He's a captain in the army and took over power in 2022 after carrying out a coup. He is considered a revolutionary leader and, to many, a successor of Thomas Sankara, who's one of the Africa's Pan-Africanists. Exactly.
Yeah, he's a Pan-Africanist. I'm sure if he's alive right now, he'll be so proud of him.
Yep.
He'd be so proud of the Burkina Faso leader. He's just 37. If you guys, he's just 37 and he's making this type of bold moves. And how many attempts that have been made for him, for him to wipe him out?
Yeah, so apparently ever since 2022 to date, there have been at least 19 assassination attempts on his life.
That can just tell you that this man is doing something right and somebody's not liking it.
Exactly.
19 attempts.
Absolutely. So lately, what has been keeping him in the news is how the West has been attacking him. Now, to give it perspective, a few weeks ago, a U.S. general, his name is General Michael Langley. He's actually the commander of AFRICOM.
Okay.
So he addressed, I think, Congress or Senate in the U.S. And raised concerns on Burkina Faso's leader, stating that he is destabilizing the Western interests in Africa. And he's also destabilizing and misusing the resources of the country. They've accused him of misusing the gold reserves and gold, all the minerals that Burkina Faso has. And the interesting question is here. When did Africa become the Western interest? What kind of interest are they talking about that the West have in Africa? You know, what right do they have?
For me, if another African president says, Traoré is doing this, he's doing that, he's not good for this for Burkina Faso, I would understand that because they're our neighbors. Like we know what's going on. But for another Western country, especially the US, with their intent coming into Africa and telling us like Traoré is not doing his job. Guys, it's just so funny for me. Yes.
I tells you that the way you control your house is not in his best interest. So you should change.
That's absurd.
Or organize your chair, put it like this.
Imagine your neighbor just outside right here telling us on how to run our house. That is absurd. Like for me, I don't think this is in a good intention. Of course, this is not the intention of good interest in Africa. They're not trying to make us peaceful. They're not trying to make us together, of course, because we have seen it multiple times. You know what? When I think about Burkina Faso and Traoré, I always think about Gaddafi. Gaddafi just straight in my mind, like, okay, they're trying to do this man dirty like Gaddafi. And how Gaddafi was running his country it was shadowed by the Western media and how the presidents of the US and the European countries just pictured him into being this dictator and making his people suffer for their life.
And you can compare how Libya was before and how it is right now.
How it is right now.
It's a crisis.
It's not a country right now.
Absolutely.
It doesn't have any governance. But back then, they were powerful.
Everybody was trying to go to Tripoli.
Yeah.
The best universities were in Tripoli, the best healthcare system, the best, name it.
Yeah.
You would be paid to get married. You would be paid to just exist and be born there. Everything was, the list of the benefits Libyans got, not even any single Western country has.
Yes.
And yet, he was considered bad. They promised paradise, and today they just have hell.
Yeah, and yet again, it's the same story because what happened before Gaddafi died? They found oil in Libya. He was using that oil to fuel his country, to make the money for the country. And what happened now in Burkina Faso? They found the oil. Who comes sniffing? The US and the West.
And the French.
That's what happened. The French.
I think all of Africa needs to focus and point our guns to those French people and tell them to back off. Because they are the nightmare, especially from the West African point of view, because most of them were colonized by the French, but there's some neocolonial flu that is still existent in all those Western African countries that were colonized by France.
Yes.
They are still in your business. And it's high time and requires people like this to come up. And it's very sad to see that these Western powers ally with current African leaders to sabotage and fight such leaders like Traoré.
Yeah.
And to give it perspective, you said many people compare him to Thomas Sankara. Thomas Sankara was, I think, the person who led to the liberation and independence of Burkina Faso.
Yeah.
Now, he was assassinated in some sort of way that these 19 attempts have been tried. In 1987, he was targeted and overthrown and assassinated. They claimed that he was shot about 7 times in the chest.
Yeah.
So now, when the Burkina Faso people, ever since then, up to today, they've not seen changes like this man has introduced.
Of course, like Africa, please wake up, man. Let's protect this man with every power that we have, because I think that's the only way out from this Western influence. And look at what he did. No African country did this. And he's 37 years old. He just went into power in 2022.
Just 3 years now.
3 years of
Not even
power.
3 years, actually.
Yeah. The amount of impact that he have on the Western and the amount of times they've tried to kill him, it just show you that he's doing something right. And also, he's the only one who stepped up to the French people and said, "Oh, fuck off from my country, man. I have to take care of this people by myself." And they tried to taking control of Burkina Faso. Right now, they're trying to make him look like a dictator. And it's so like, I don't know. It's the same story repeating itself. And if Africa doesn't wake up again, and it will happen eventually, one of those hits will happen, because 19 times they tried to kill him, right? If they tried another 19 times, there's a bigger chance, like more than 90%.
And some people still criticize him because of how he dresses up. He still appears in public with combat and all dressed up, all strapped with a gun. And they're like, why are you trying to dramatize all this? Maybe he's all ready for combat.
Of course, he's a military before.
Yeah.
He's a military personnel, and he knows the military. He knows how the military goes, and his personality is all about based in military. So that's why he dressed like that. He's not like dressed up like with $1,000 suits and some type of tie with Giorgio Armani tag on it, like other African countries, which doesn't have any impact on our continent.
Let me play devil's advocate for a moment here. Many of his critics say he's just trying to look good, but he's just as dirty as they come. If he is as clean as he claims, why doesn't he install democracy? It's been 3 years in power. Why doesn't he have an election and let him be elected as a president instead of just running militarily until when?
So you're saying that let him be elected?
Yeah, he should organize elections in Burkina Faso and become a democratically elected president.
I don't think Burkina Faso is in that position right now. It needs a lot of infrastructure, and also it needs a lot of development, because Burkina Faso, I've seen it on the internet. It doesn't look like a well-developed country, even compared to other African countries. And this man is just stepping up on how to develop this infrastructure well, and building it, making sure that it is comfortable for the people to live in, instead of just holding some useless elections and making the West like making them happy, like, oh, democracy is happening in our country. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, let me say,
Western country was developed on democracy.
yes,
They'll say the United States.
the United States.
But the United States was established by a general. Washington was a general.
A
He
general.
had to fight the British out.
Of course.
And establish and he was not there for just 2 terms. He was there for a long time.
Of course. Of course. And the Americans know that. The American president, and also all their governance, they know that it was built on military, their country. And they
Even
know
up to
this
today.
foundation is a hardcore foundation for Burkina Faso. Because if it is based on military and this man is doing his job right, they're going to be a powerful nation somewhere near into the future. And they're afraid of that. If one nation is powerful in the whole Africa and decides to unite all the African countries, it's raps for the Western.
And if democracy is the only way to develop, how do you explain China's coming up? How do you explain Russia's dominance?
Yeah.
Anyway, to give you some of the facts of the things that he's been changing lately. Ever since he came, number one, he nationalized the gold minings. Now, before this, gold minings in Burkina Faso were owned previously by foreign companies, most of them French. Today, all the gold mines are owned by the government. The second thing, he established gold refinery. Before this, all the gold was sent abroad while still raw.
Yeah.
But today, about 400 kilograms of gold are being refined every single day. The third thing, he suspended small-scale gold exports. People in Burkina Faso were exporting as small as, even if you have a bag of gold, you export
You export
in
it,
small.
yeah.
And when you export in small quantity, you get very few
Yeah.
returns. Today, you have to do only large-scale gold exporting. Lastly, and this is one of the most important ones, he supports farmers. Over 400 tractors, 239 tillers, and 700 motor pumps, and 700 motorcycles, and many others have been distributed to all farmers to practice large-scale farming, all by the government. And even lately, I don't have this on the statistics,
Yeah.
but in these 3 years, they've built more roads, kilometers in the roads than they did ever since independence. More than 5,000 kilometers of road have been built. Now, this is what the US general says is not in their interest.
Of course.
Eh?
Of course, it's not in their interest. Of course,
This is not in the interest of the
of
United
course, it's
States.
not in the interest, because this man has just been
Yeah.
in power for 3 years and he made all this impact. Give him another 3 years, he's gonna destroy all the Western countries from his continent, from Africa. So they're afraid of that. Of course,
Yeah.
they're afraid that they're gonna lose their power of getting that they are getting from African countries, which the control they want they're not controlling it. You know what I'm saying?
But what they're saying is, again, as a devil's advocate, just to hear your
Yeah.
point of view, they're not so much saying that he is building or just making Burkina Faso independent.
Yeah.
He's just shifting sides from the West to Russia, because he's been building ties with Russian
course.
president. He's made trips to
Yeah.
Moscow, and he has created a pact with Niger and Mali, which are all military governments that are new. So they're saying that USA is losing their grip to Russia in West Africa. So as a Pan-African, do you think it's a good shift that we're now choosing Russia over the US?
It's basically choosing a right business partner. I see it as that. So whenever a country is developing, of course, you have to seek out for help for a best business partner that you can get. So when you see America, they will give you business. Oh, you'll get money, but you're not gonna be using it for your own good. You're not going to be using it for future development and for not being dependent in the future. You're using it so that they can come and give you every year so that you can keep on those cycles. It's like keeping a 9-to-5 job. You get what I'm saying? They'll give you just a bit of thing, a bit of this, a bit of that, so that you can still keep working, coming to them, asking them for things, so that it can be very comfortable for them to control you and to sabotage you whenever you are acting in a bad manner. You get what I'm saying? So I see Russia as an option for Burkina Faso for building their own business. It's like getting out of the 9-to-5 and escaping the metrics and getting into your own business and being an entrepreneur. So of course, when you are being an entrepreneur, you need business partners or some type of people connections which can help you elevate this movement you're trying to do. So I support the interactions that they are having with the Russians, and they're not doing it with the US, because the US have just proven us multiple times that they're not the right partners for us.
I get it. I get it. And it maybe another thing now, which they usually hit on him, is the insecurity in Burkina Faso. That a lot of humanitarian crisis is going on, a lot of people are dying, and it's like death is just a subscription that only Africans go to and all that. So I just pulled up a few statistics here showing a comparison of annual deaths in the US vis-a-vis the terrible place called Burkina Faso.
Burkina Faso, okay.
So this guy, again, contextually, he became president in 2022.
Yeah.
September around. So
around September.
So the total deaths that year were 1,135 in comparison to USA's, which is 48,204. 2023, 1,900 deaths in Burkina Faso. USA, 43,065. And even 2024, which was at least the worst death case in Burkina Faso, which was 6,000, you can compare it to USA's 40,886. And these US deaths are not all deaths. These are just gun or violence-based deaths. So you have way more chances of being shot down in the US than you do have in Burkina Faso.
Yeah.
But yet they still claim that.
Yeah, so tell this general to shut the fuck up, because he's not doing his job clearly.
And
why are they worrying about a country which is far from their country and which is in a different continent, and they have all these problems in their own country, which is absurd, and that's crazy.
And you know the worst part? This general is black.
Of course.
We're always...
He's a traitor.
Betrayed by your own, bro. You should just go and bleach, man.
This guy.
A betrayer, a snake.
Yeah.
That's sneaky general.
That's sneaky general, bro. It's always gonna be our own, one of our own, bro.
Yeah.
And they're gonna do us dirty.
People in Traoré's camp as well. They are trying to recruit.
They always do. As I told you, Thomas Sankara was shot down by a Burkina Faso guy. He was not an American guy or Russian guy. Yeah, the Gaddafi was taken down by a militia group in Libya and laughed at and put down on the streets of Libya by Libyans. So they are smart enough to use one of our own.
Of course.
To attack.
They have money. Money deceives people. Yeah. If you have money, you can buy anything in this world, apparently. Yeah, that's the sad truth.
Absolutely.
But the thing is that you can't buy influence. So that's why they are so angry about this Burkina Faso Traoré, and they were so angry with Gaddafi. They cannot buy the influence that he have. They couldn't buy him. Like, they couldn't buy him with money. That's why, like, people get angry when they cannot buy something with the amount of money they have, and they will try to erase you from this.
Yeah, they can't buy your conscience if you have a strong one.
Of course.
Yeah, and see how mad we are. We're East Africans. And Burkina Faso should be even mad. More mad than us. But anyway, what's your parting shot about this? What's your last?
What's the last?
Yeah, your conclusion on this topic.
The conclusion, I would say, I want to say, especially for the younger version of Africans, to wake up, guys. Let's wake up. We even see black people going out for riots regarding about Ibrahim Traoré in France. People are protesting. Black people, African people. They are protesting against Traoré. That's crazy. That's stupid. Yeah, they've never even seen Africa before, and they're against Traoré without knowing what he's doing. So please, guys, wake up. If you're living in Africa, I'm not talking about those people who are living in abroad. Maybe they are brainwashed. They're living with a different society. So I'm not blaming them. But those people who are living in Africa, who are sitting right now and watching while you are in Africa, please, guys, wake up. Just don't watch this Western news and get influenced and just riot and say, oh, this guy is a perpetrator, or this guy is a dictator. Just watch and learn from the greats. That's what we can do.
Yeah.
And you?
Yeah. So my parting shot is this. First of all, I'm not here to suggest that Traoré is like the best person ever. What I'm trying to say is he's an African. If he's a problem, he should be an African problem for Africans to deal with. Now, the second thing is I think he represents a new generation of African leaders who are resistant to colonialism and all Western influence. And I think it should be an inspiration to all Africans to back him up and support him to, first of all, deal with these people who have for so long manipulated us, turned us against each other. And it's no longer an excuse in 2025 for any African to base his knowledge on Western media when we do have our African sources, our African way of telling our own story. I mean, for heaven's sake, just subscribe to Inspektv and you get the true source of African news by Africans instead of just basing on Western media, Western perspectives of Africans. And last but not least, there's a social media quote that about this whole issue that I would like to end with, which quotes the general saying, "We destabilize your interest, like Africa interests are being destabilized by what Traoré is doing, then maybe it's time you should stop having interests in Africa." I hope that sets the score. Yes.
Perfect, guys. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And if you're listening up to this point, just like, subscribe, share this information, because I'm sure there's people out there who needs it. And thank you very much for watching. Have a good one.
Peace out.